to another webinar about the AHA halo. For those who don't know me, my name is Jörg Prinz. I'm in the medical field since a long time, but I'm doing naturopathy with a focus on energy medicine since 25 years. So I basically left the conventional medical system totally. So I know a bit about the physiological effects that energy medicine devices do have on the body. I'm not so good at the technical side, so if you've got any technical questions, please ask Smalley or the people at AHA Halo. I will give a presentation. It takes about an hour or so. And afterwards, I'm happy to answer questions. But please write your questions into the Q&A section of Zoom rather than into the chat. Otherwise, I have to filter out and read through a lot of messages what the actual questions are. If anyone would like to have a personal holistically medical consultation, you can contact me here. That's my email address, and you can contact me through WhatsApp as well. I have made available the slide deck as a PDF file, and towards the end, I will show you where you can download it from. Yeah, to avoid misunderstandings and for some legal reasons, it's good to mention that any treatments with the AHA halo and other energy medicine devices is experimental. People do forget that conventional medicine works on the same fine error method. They think they know better. That can be discussed. So here's our disclaimer, please note. Okay, we want to talk about the AHA Halo, this little device that fits in a pocket. I will briefly show you how it works and how to set it up. But the most part of the webinar will actually be about the programs that we can run with the device, and then a few extras at the end, how to use it on a daily basis and how to use the Harmony cards as well. And as mentioned, questions and answers at the end. So how does this little device work? The AHA Halo is actually producing a scalar field, and that is sort of a meter to all sides of the device, all around. That's about 3 feet. And that causes a scalar field to be produced. And with the programs, you can add on additional frequencies and other programs that would address any physical and emotional issues that a user might have. So what's a scalar field? Well, scalar field, depending how you pronounce it, it's basically a mathematical description of a room, and within that area you can actually measure different things. You can set up, for instance, a scalar field for temperature of your room. So not what the overall temperature is felt, but which each point within the room has got which temperature, and that together gives that. So usually it's a bit warmer at the ceiling, a bit cooler at the bottom. So there will be differences there, but the description of where the temperatures are measured, that's a scalar field. But you can set up a scalar field for all sorts of other things. We are interested in the electric charge, in the electric potential or the electromagnetic potential, and the riding frequencies on top of these. So a scalar field is actually a field where there is no movement. So we cannot measure frequencies as we would measure it with a contact application, like for instance the Spooky 2, because you can measure the flow of energy and you can measure the frequencies. A scalar field, as it is set up, is basically hard to measure and makes it difficult to explain um, from the producer side of these devices that it, or show actually that it works. But it does its thing, which those who have used it might have noticed. So this is the set that they send to you, the machine, some harmony cards, a carrier plastic shell around it, and a charger cable. Before you use it, you have to charge it fully. When you turn it on, you should briefly see that it is charged up to 100%. And always use the cable that they actually sending you, because it's not just a charging cable, it's a data cable. So whenever you want to do something, use that cable, or perhaps another data cable, but don't think that every USB with these ends there would work for what you want to do. I know it's a bit annoying because we've got thousands of cables lying around. Finding the right one at the right time is usually a problem. Okay, in order to put programs onto this little device, you need a computer. And here's the address where you can download the software, which is free. So if you don't have it yet, you can don't have a device yet, you could download it, but it only works once this thing is connected or work properly with all the things. So the latest one that I've got is this number here. They update it regularly um, to make things easier or put new things in there. So once you're having your device, once you have downloaded the software, whenever you go and load the software on your computer, you will get messages whether a new update is available and what to install. In order to make this work, it is a good idea to connect your device with a cable to the computer and turn on the AHA Halo device and then load it, because then the software can pick up, oh yeah, here is a device and I can read what's loaded on it. If you don't turn it on, the software doesn't know and gives you a warning and says, hey, it's not connected. So you have to turn it on. So turning it on is easy. This is a flip button here that goes in all directions. So pushing on here and holding it turns the device on. Here are all the other functions. With these ones here, up and down, you can flick through the programs that are loaded on your device. And with pressing on here for a long time, so a long press, you can lock the screen. It gets dark, it's still running, but you can put it in the pocket without being afraid that any pressure on your pocket would change or stop the program. So this here is the software, and that's the main part of the computer program that, or the computer software that you will be using. It indicates that it is on the home page. And when you get your device, you will notice there's nothing in here. Nothing is loaded onto your device. And here you have got the possibility to load something on there in order to run it. So first of all, you can decide whether you want to use the peptide library or the regular library, which has resonance frequencies on it rather than peptide presets. And then you can load them on here. Now the newer ones have got 50 spaces or space for 50 programs that you can load on and flick through and can use one after the other if you wanted to. So you can use this large button here. That's a quick pack install of these 19 presets. If you like them and want to use them, feel free to push the button and you will then see a list here. But you can also decide that you won't have one program or one by one. So you click, for instance, in the regular library, and we click on, for instance, this program, Young Body, and then we click on Load, and then it actually will appear here and indicate that slot 1 of 50 has been used for the device and for this program. Here are a few more buttons there that I quickly explain. This is your home page, so that you can enter for that here the official website. There are video tutorials. There's an FAQ page there. You can check for latest updates, software updates and firmware updates, but usually you get a message when there is one available. You can submit suggestions. Can you please make me a program for whatever? Things like that. You can email here. There is a very interesting AHA Halo forum where you sometimes find answers or get some hints and tips how to use it. And here is a language button. I'm not quite sure how many languages they have put on there yet, but it's quite a handful, I think. Okay, let's dive deep into the software. I use the AHA Halo for helping with holistic health. And it's more a wellness and maintenance tool for me. But it has got effects that I sometimes also see with stronger scalar fields, like the scalar from Spooky 2. And therefore, it's sort of half and half for me. But with the AHA Halo, you can address quite a lot of things that all fall into the realm of holistic health. So not only the physical, but the mental, financial, probably too, there's a program for that, but social, intellectual, and spiritual, these parts of the environment and how we react to it play a huge part actually in health and in healing if there is a problem. So then I often get the question, does it work for all people? And the answer is yes and no. I'll give you an example like him. He's a guy who is a little bit overweight couch potato, who loves to eat. And that makes it difficult because he doesn't appear to be a person that is motivated enough to look after himself. So this person probably would need to change a little bit the lifestyle. He also would need to change what he's eating. That looks like junk food. And watching television being submitted to a program doesn't help either, because here you get news, and the news are always made to scare the shit out of us. And therefore, it doesn't matter whether you have mainstream news or alternative news. If you consume all the bad things all the time, it doesn't help your health. I'm also not talking about these guys here who might be overdoing their sports activity. I'm talking about people like these who actually connect with nature and with their own nature. So these people would benefit most from it, although all the others I showed, they could change. So since I did the last AHA Halo webinar, a few things have changed. We have got something excitingly new, which are the peptide programs. They have been developed over the last 8 years, mainly for Spooky 2 devices, but of course for AHA Halo as well, and have been adapted to that. And the first ones came out in December last year. In the meantime, there's quite a lot of programs available, and there will still be a few that need to be adapted for the AHA Halo, and I'm sure will be happening in the near future. So peptide programs are a little bit different from the resonance programs there. When we were talking about resonance programs, we were always talking about killing or healing programs there. Now, the peptide programs are neither of them. They stimulate peptide release, and the release has to come in a certain order. Peptides are messenger molecules in the body. They bring information to the cells or to organs, to other structures, and that is a feedback reaction for the brain, who does the steering of all these processes there. And therefore, these are that's why these peptide applications are so interesting. Even conventional medicine is actually using them. However, we try to get it into frequencies that we can apply through the scaler. The most important, or a very important part in peptide presets and programs, is the timing when which peptide gets stimulated. It has to be done in a certain order, and it is much shorter impulses than with resonance programs. Resonance programs, for each resonance, you played for about 3 minutes. For the peptide programs, it's sometimes just a second or even a quarter of a second. That's why these peptide programs are usually shorter than the similar resonance programs. So I will be talking about them a bit. Here's sort of a description which categories of programs we have, and these numbers indicate the peptides and the resonance numbers that we have. For some, like the energy pathways, the solfeggios, and the spiritual well-being, we haven't got any peptide programs yet, but it probably will come soon. So there are roughly around 200 programs available at the moment. Here's a link where you can actually find a PDF that describes what these programs are built for. But let's go through the categories and through the program. So we have got a beauty program here, or a category for beauty with several programs there. They don't really replace plastic surgery, which has got its disadvantages as well. However, programs like Young Body will do something when they are running long enough and when the amount of toxins that are coming into the body is actually reduced. So then the body can regenerate much better. They all have got a component there that we would call anti-aging or rejuvenating programs there. And that has to do with something that is called telomeres. Telomeres are the ends of chromosomes, and whenever a cell is dividing and the chromosome gets divided, then these ends getting shorter and shorter. And finally, after decades of cell division, there is no telomere left, which means the cell cannot reproduce properly anymore, which means it might produce a sick cell or it might not produce a new cell at all. And more and more old cells will be in the body. And that's what we call aging, which finally leads to our demise. Cleansing programs are very important these days. And it's probably something that everyone should start with when they start doing self-treatments with the AHA halo. We have got so many toxins coming into our bodies these days, and it doesn't matter how careful you are, there's pollution in the air, there's pollution in our water, there's unstructured, damaged water that we drink. There is stuff rained down on us from the skies. There's stuff already in the soils. And whenever we even eat organically, we cannot avoid actually taking up toxins. And if we then living in a city where there is radiation from cell towers and Wi-Fi, then we are adding to the load there. So trying to reduce it as much as possible is desirable. So these programs here, they are comparable with the detox programs that we have got in the Spooky 2 suit. And there is actually a difference, as you can see, in the timing of the resonance frequencies. Some of them are 1.5 hours to the peptides one, and that's always indicated by the bracket with a P there for peptides in the programs as well, so you can identify them when they are loaded onto the device itself. And you see it's much shorter times there. There's no program longer than 20 minutes. Now you can run them all, or you can run them one after the other. Well, one after the other, you have to do, but there is a recommended order that you should do it. You should start with the kidney cleanse, then do the liver cleanse, then the gut, then the lymphatics, then the blood, then the full body cleansing, and then starting with heavy metal cleansing. In the spooky suits, the other way around, but here these programs help to open up the paths how things can be excreted. So when you finally use the heavy metal cleansing, then you can get rid of the stuff easier and it doesn't accumulate in other compartments of the body and cause you any unwanted reactions like feeling fluey, having a runny nose, getting headaches or something like that. So you can adhere to this order here. It's better for most people, if not for all. So then we have got a category called comfort, and it actually refers to all sorts of physical discomfort. So they're pretty much self-explanatory. You have to know, though, that discomfort could be an itch, it could be an ache, it could be a pain. So anything that is in the abdominal area, you can treat with the abdominal discomfort, and the back aches you can treat with back discomfort, and so on. It's pretty self-explanatory. We have got the peptide programs here. Again, they are shorter. I go back. They are sometimes going nearly 3 hours. And here we are talking minutes. And for some people who have got um, a chronic pain, it might be an idea actually to use the shorter ones, but several times a day. So what are these comfort programs doing? They're mainly, most likely, I don't know the details, but they work probably very well as they do because they reduce inflammation. So inflammation is the combination of pain, overwarming of the tissue, visible redness, swelling belongs there, and a loss of function. And whenever there is pain in the body, whether it's in the limbs, whether it's in the belly, whether it's in the neck, doesn't really matter. It usually has to do with inflammation. I would say it always has to do with inflammation. So if you can reduce inflammation, you automatically reduce the um, the pain. So the device is actually pushing the body reaction from the pro-inflammation phase into the anti-inflammation pain by reducing the pain. Now, what does that mean? So when we have got something going wrong in our body, whether we bang ourselves, we cut ourselves, we poison ourselves, whenever there's something not quite right, the body reacts with inflammation with the idea to fix whatever's going on there. So we have got a phase where the inflammation goes up and then it comes down again and then the pain is gone. So sometimes we have got adaptation reactions. They only take seconds or minutes and then the pain is gone again. Sometimes so short before you can think, why is that hurting now? I haven't done anything in that area. It's gone again. It's sort of an adaptation reaction. But people who have got an acute disease, this process takes much longer, sometimes days, sometimes weeks. And when you go to a conventional doctor, they give you anti-inflammatories. And these anti-inflammatories, they actually stop the whole reaction. But what we want actually that this reaction goes through the pro-inflammation and the anti-inflammation, because when it goes down here, another process happens, and that's the repair mechanism. But that needs to have a certain small amount of or a certain amount of anti-inflammatory mediators till this actually can happen. And if you use a scalar device for your treatment there, you're actually shortening the whole time. If you've got something chronic, the body tries to repair something and then stops again and tries again and stops again and so on till you actually apply the AHA halo to it. And then it helps you actually to do the whole reaction, including anti-inflammation and repair mechanism. So think in these ways there. And when you know how that works, then you also know that you might think, or I've pointed out to you, that if you are here with your inflammation reaction to whatever happened to you, and you use then the AHA halo, it might get a little bit worse for a short time. Sometimes, not always, but it might be. and then it goes down. But then it not only goes down, but it repairs and heals, not like with anti-inflammatory drugs. Whenever you have got pain in the areas that we have got programs for, you also have to note that sometimes certain emotions can trigger this. So if you wake up in the morning and everything is fine, and an hour later you notice, oh, I've got back pain. I don't know why. I've been sleeping in my bed. I was sleeping nicely. I was relaxed. And why do I have this? So often it helps yourself to think about, what was I thinking about? What's going through my mind? What is stressing me? And you have to listen to the inside of your body and find out. And then you might find one of those emotions that can cause you the pain where you have it. It's a helpful chart. Think about it and use your ability of solving issues and get your emotion, your energy flow um, going again while thinking about those suggestions. Emotional well-being. Now, emotional well-being, these are all um, resonance frequencies. Um, I love the first one personally, clarity and focus. When I had a bad night and I wake up in the morning, I'm not quite there. The coffee doesn't do the job. Then I turn on this clarity and focus. It takes about 10, 15 minutes for me. And although the program takes over an hour to run, but within 15 minutes, I feel a difference. So you can motivate yourself and you can reduce negative energy with these programs. So they work on negative and positive emotions. The energy pathways, and here we also got resonant frequencies only, they actually have to do with the meridians. These are the 12 main meridians here. And in these meridians, according to Chinese medicine, um, the energy stays for 2 hours on one meridian, or there's more energy on this one meridian, and then the energy passes to the next one. And it goes through these 12 meridians, makes 24 hours. So there are certain times of the day when you're feeling not quite right, to look at a chart like this or a meridian clock to figure out which might be the problem area if you're inclined to work with meridians, and then work on them with one of the programs. Not included in this list are the governing vessel on the back and the conception vessel on the front. But if you use a program called Seven Chakras, which is in there somewhere, I can't quite recall which category at the moment, then you're actually doing something for these two main meridians as well. How does that work? Well, all our tissue, all our cells, they are connected to each other through connective tissue. And the fibers go smaller and smaller on the cellular level. They actually go through the cell membrane, and then inside they form a web which we call the skeleton of the cell, the cytoskeleton. But these fibers, they're all able to transmit electric charges, which is actually these little wandering red dots. And with these electrical charges, they receive and send information to other cells. Now, these fibers go even into the nucleus of the cell, so they have contact with the chromosomes, with the DNA, which makes it more interesting. So that's the way how meridians most likely work. There are different theories around it, but for me, as physical thinking medical doctor, it's a good explanation. Now, when can I use these meridian programs? I get this question quite often. That's why I put you a table in here that lists up these 12 meridians there, um, which organ systems they are associated with. But this is the interesting part for you. Common Western disease and dysfunctions are listed here that are connected with these meridians. So I hope you find this helpful. You can look this up on a chart like that. Of course, again, there are certain emotions that influence the activity or dysfunction of a meridian. Here's a list of charts, as a list of emotions that are connected with these, and you can have a look if something tells you it might be this meridian from a physical side, look up the emotional part of it, and then you can work with that and try to solve your emotional issue. So holistic body care, this is sort of something that's totally wellness and even helpful for certain diseases. And we go through these ones one by one. Here is again anti-inflammation and healing and protection balancing programs that are used. So, for instance, blood. We have got them in peptide version as well. They're much shorter. They actually help to change this condition here. Red blood cells, when they haven't got enough energy, when there is not enough energy inside these cells there, they lose their charge and they cling at each other and produce something what we call a coin roll. The French term is rouleau. So that's a rouleau formation. And that doesn't help the red blood cells to squeeze through the capillaries to bring oxygen to the tissue. But if you use this program there and let it run for 20 minutes, then when we have taken photographs before and after, the cells, the red blood cells are again in a single cell suspension. They're detached from each other because they've got the same charge, which pushes them apart. And therefore, the function of the oxygenation is much better than as it is with that. For bone, well, we've got this is a normal bone, and that is actually osteoporosis. So you need to use this program if you have got that problem, but be aware it doesn't happen overnight. That's a long treatment there because bones, they are getting restructured over time, but it takes a long time because it's bone. We will be talking about cartridges when we come to joints. So let's continue with the cell program. Each cell is like a little battery. It has got a charge across the membrane. It's usually 70 millivolts. And if this charge gets less and less and less, the cell gets sicker, sicker, and sicker till it's actually taken away from the immune system in a process that's called apoptosis. That's the normal thing. Every human being has got about 10 million cell deaths every day. And then they get built anew, and hopefully with better charge than before. The endocrine system is actually working from the hypothalamus all the way down to all the glands that are involved in the endocrine system. So there's an effect on the pineal gland and on the pituitary gland, and then, of course, affects all the way down. And the most important one is the adrenal glands, because the adrenal glands, they produce the stress hormone, the cortisol. And if you've got inflammation, chronic stress, then it is good to work on your endocrine system to balance things out. We've got a program that stimulates the immune system to work good, not only the organs like the spleen and the thymus and so on, or the bone marrow. It has to do with the mucous membranes from mouth all the way down. And our most active immune competent cells, they are largely around the guts. It's estimated that about 90% of all immune competent cells are in this area. So you can do something for your digestive system, but also for your immune system by using that program. So here's the joints and the cartilage. The cartilage is inert almost. It's white. There's no blood vessels going into cartilage. That's why damaged cartilage is often not healing at all or not very well. But you have to know that the nutrients for the cartilage is actually coming from the synovial fluid, from the fluid inside the joint. And you can work on the joint using this and on the cartilage. You can alter them or play them one after the other and again in order to do something for damaged cartilage and for damaged joints. But again, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to do this continuously. Metabolism has to do with what we eat and how we extract the biochemical energy. And fuel for any cell is a substance called ATP. And if you're eating enough but not feeling energized, or even worse, you're eating something and you're feeling tired, then metabolism is probably a good thing to do. It certainly will have an effect on the thyroid gland as well, as would do the endocrine program. So here we are looking at muscles and tendons. They most likely work with the stimulation of growth hormone, which increases the bone growth and the muscle, and at the same time decrease fat tissue. Everything goes into building muscles. The nerve program refers to the whole of the nervous system. That is not only the central nervous system, but the peripheral one as well. It's not only the central nervous system, but also the autonomous nervous system, although we do have programs that focus a little bit more on the latter. So anything that has to do with nerves repair, like polyneuritis, for instance, and other conditions, that is the program that helps them to regenerate a little bit faster. But again, it takes time. It doesn't work overnight. Now, people who are actually sensitive to any radiation from the computer, Wi-Fi, cell phone towers and cell phones itself, microwaves, they can protect themselves a little bit by using the radiation program. You can turn this on and let it run as long as you are in an area where you are submitted to these radiations, and can protect you a little bit yourself, because the halo will form a bubble around you, and that not necessarily stops the incoming radiation, but neutralizes it to a certain amount. So vitamins and minerals is a program there. it doesn't replace taking, it does not replace taking vitamins and minerals in the form of good food. Yeah. If you are eating just meat and you think that vitamin and mineral program will compensate for the rest of it, I have my doubts. So it will help though to absorb and utilize vitamins and minerals that you take as supplements or in food better. So a few additions. So the cartilage program was relatively new. That was explained inflammation as well. Here are two other programs. One is called SCARS. If you've got a scar after an injury that heals up, it forms a lot of connective tissue. Scars are hard. They are like a barrier, a concrete barrier. Any energy that wants to go through can't. And it does its damages with that. It also hardens up and it pulls surrounding tissue. It changes the fascia if the scar was deep enough. And therefore, if you've got a big scar or several bigger scars, then use this program to actually soften them up and let the energy flow properly. And this one here is vagus nerve. Vagus nerve is the main parasympathetic nerve in the body. It's the longest. It comes from the brain stem, but all its sensors go all the way down into the abdominal area for the left vagus nerve and more into the chest and heart area on the right of the vagus nerve. It's a bit shorter here. So the vagus nerve helps us to heal. And when you use this, familiarize yourself a little bit what is called polyvagal therapy, because it comes up with three different states that our autonomous nervous system can be in, depending which part of the vagus is active. So if the front part of the vagus is actually active, then we are feeling safe, secure, and we can socialize with ease. If the sympathetic is active, then we're in fight and flight mode. And if the dorsal aspect of the vagus is active, then we are in what we call freeze and fawn mode. And that has to do with childhood experiences and how we actually worked through them and how we react with them at now. If you've got difficulties with that, the vagus nerve program might help you, but it also needs to be worked on from an understanding and from a letting go of old memories and old experiences. So here's a collection of the pictures for the PDF. That's why I put them in there. So physical well-being. That has to do with adaptation to the environment and partly infectious. For instance, we've got programs here that tackle parasites. We have got programs that most likely tackle viruses as well. For instance, like a runny nose or signs of any upper respiratory tract infection. So there's quite a lot of things in here that are pretty self-explanatory when you can use them. And the spiritual well-being, we have got energies that influence partly our brain, but partly the surrounding field of us, something that you would call aura or the morphogenetic field. So these are subtle energies, and the first five on the list here, they have to do with brain waves. These are the brain waves, for instance, for infants, These are the brain waves for logical thinking. This is the brain wave for learning and memory. So you can use them according to what comes here. The Schumann resonance is the main frequency that we are exposed to on an everyday. And if we are not, it makes us sick. So if we are in a building that is insulated well, where these waves cannot come in, it can cause symptoms from headaches to being psychotic. So tests have been done in the 1960s already, I believe, or 70s, um, where it was tested how important it is to be um, in an area where the Schumann resonance is able to touch us. Now, the Schumann resonance is changing in its numbers there, and it seems to be more octaves and sub-octaves are now more active than it was about 20, 30 years ago. But anyway. So here are a few things where you can use other programs like aura cleansing. You can try to influence your career. Um, and here's the financial program, Wealth Luck. I've been running it a few times when I filled in my lotto ticket, but it hasn't worked for me yet. So we'll see. Sleep. There are two categories of sleep programs, peptide ones with good sleep and loud sleep, and the resonance programs there, which are four of them. They have been distinguished as number one is good for falling asleep, number two is good for sleeping through. That's the longest program, nearly 5 hours. And three is good for chronic sleeplessness. Loud sleep is for snorers, yes. And which is not on there, which I just showed before, is the delta wave one, because that can be used for deep relaxation as well and let you have a good sleep. The solfeggio frequencies are also only available as resonance frequencies. And here, the values that are up here explain a little bit what you can do with them. It goes more into the subtle energies as well, but they're all grouped together as solfeggio ones. Solfeggio itself plays them all one after the other. And women's care and men's care are pretty self-explanatory as well. They are going with, you can use them whenever you want to address one of these issues. So how do you best use your little aha halo? Well, I would use it daily, especially if you've got something that is there since a long time and where you know it will take a long time to actually solve the issue. So often the function of these programs overlap a little bit from the physical to the emotional and vice versa. So if you're not quite sure, well, run them both one after the other. But make sure that you know what your intention is with the program. So intention is an important part to set up your own mind, your own emotional body for accepting that a change will now be happening, and then you add the aha halo, so you tackle the whole issue from two sides. The intention, however, should be more a spiritual one rather than a materialistic one. I think that's why it doesn't work with the lotto for me, but who knows? No, it's more that you want to have a purpose in life, and in order to fulfill the purpose in life, you need to have a strong body and a working body. And with that in combination with the AHA halo, I think that's the way to go. So you can do 2, 5 cycles of a program or several programs, give it a rest in between there and start it up again. Be aware that a lot of these programs work more on the sympathetic and parasympathetic regulation, what they are there for. And it has a lot to do with the emotional charts that I showed you before. So for acute symptoms, you can use the AHA Helio continuously. Now, if you've got back pain there, let it run till it eases, and then give it a break. For chronic conditions, well, you can run them 2, 3 times a day, 5 times a day, but you have to do it every day. That's the important part. Till finally something starts to move that you can feel till it gets better. And don't stop until it is really good. That's my recommendation. A lot of people ask me about, do you use it at night? Me, no. But I'm probably one of the few. I can't sleep, even with a sleep program when the AHA Halo is running. I turn off my Wi-Fi, I turn off spooky devices, anything else. Nothing runs at nighttime. At nighttime, I can only sleep well if nothing is on. Some other people, they can run everything. They can run Wi-Fi, they can run spooky, they can run the AHA Halo, and they still feel great. Good for you, not good for me. So I turn everything off, but try it out and see what works for you. And of course, whenever you start a treatment like this, make sure you've got the right nutrients, that you have, that you are well hydrated, that you drink enough water, just pure water. Um, the regular exercise that often gets dismissed, and I haven't got time for this. Well, you have to take time for that if you want to get better. Avoiding stress is easier said than done. I'm aware of this. But as much as you can, try to train your autonomous nervous system calm down again after a stress. We don't want to have a stress-free life. Otherwise, we could not appreciate how much valuable these good times are. But we don't want to be in constant stress. We want to have an argument with the boss and calm down afterwards, and everything is done and dusted. That's the idea. And that, of course, helps you with good mood and eventually with good sleep as well. So you get your AHA Halo device with 3 cards, and these cards actually can be charged with a program, just a single one, but a program. And then you can pass on the card to somebody else who can carry them around and get the benefits from the program that you played on it. So you put the card down, you put the machine on top of it, run the program, and once the program is run through once, you can take the device away and the card is charged. You have to do this once a week because it loses its charge and its memory. And it's even worse if it's hit by sunlight or hit by electromagnetic frequencies. So if it's lying beside your Wi-Fi router, that's not a good idea. So then you have to recharge them again. Instead of a week, do it every third day or every fourth day. If you want to put on another program on the card, just choose the other program, turn it on, put it onto the card, let it run through, and that overrides what was there before, and the new one is on there for around about a week. So we came to the end just in time. Gosh, thanks for listening. So if you want to have a consultation, contact me. The slide deck, the slide deck I make available on my website, drjoe.co.nz news. So here, it's pretty much the last item on the list there. You have to scroll down. You will find a link to the AHA Halo 2 slide deck as a PDF file that you can download. The other thing is I also will provide a link to the recording once the recording is finished and worked on. So if you want to see it there, but you can also see it on the ahaharmony.com website when you use the software for AHA Halo. Are actually ready to tackle any questions if you have some. So give me a second here. Try to find the Q&A file. Oh, I have to do this first. Hang on a second. Where are we? Oh no, it's down here. All right. So let me, can I get this up here? Yes, okay, very good. So we've got 9 questions. Oh, that's manageable. So what's the first one? If we already routinely complete detox on Spooky 2, would it still be a good idea to do it on the AHA Halo 2? Not necessarily, I would say. The Spooky 2 is a bit stronger than the AHA Halo, but sometimes you can't be close to the device to do your detoxing on the Spooky, then you can use the AHA Halo instead on that day. But the beauty is with the AHA Halo that even after you've done a detox, you can run it all the time for a while because multiple applications are better than just a single application, even if you use the terrain protocol that runs for 11 days. What programs and presets are part of Young Body? I cannot answer the question. For proprietary reasons, they don't exactly tell us what components are there. But one of the things I would suggest is that it works on collagen, on the connective tissue, and it actually works on the chromosomes as well. But that's a guess, an educated guess. But I don't have any information which programs are, or which particular peptides, for that matter, are in there. I have my audio turned on all the way, but I'm not able to hear you very well. I'm sorry. Everyone else seems to be happy. Are you sure it's not your machine? Well, it's a bit late now anyway, but have another listen to the recording. Perhaps you can turn it up a little bit better. The microphone is right in front of me. Is fascial support for the face or the fascia? That's for the fascia. Fascia. That's actually for the sheath of that goes around each muscle and that are connected to each other. Schumann resonance on AHA. I get heaviness in the head and drowsy and feel strange. Is that normal? No, of course it's not normal. The thing is, go on. My question to you is, are you well hydrated? Are you have you done a detox beforehand? Because the detox also helps, or the cleansing, as the programs are called, helps actually to open the pathways to detox, and then any frequencies that are applied to the body, healing frequencies or peptide frequencies, they work easier for the body, and you don't get that Herxheimer reaction type that you are actually describing in your question. How many days do you suggest to run the all cleansing programs? Just 1 week or more? Well, sometimes, and in this case as well, more is better. You can run one program for a day or several times a day, or you can run, especially the peptide cleansing programs, run them one after the other till they are through on one day. On the second day, you do the same, then do the same, do the same, the same. Do this for a week and see how you feel. The problem is we cannot measure anything that would say, oh, yeah, you've done a great detox. You don't have to do it for the next 2 months or something, or for the next year. These parameters we cannot measure. I need help setting up on computer on a Mac. I'm new to our Halo. Okay, I can't help you with Macs because I'm running Androids, Windows computers, but have a talk to Smolly, who is in the background and might be able to help you or point you to how to do this. I'm certainly not qualified to comment on it. Sorry. If you store the frequency cards together, do they cancel each other? Possibly. I've never thought about this. Because what I do is with the cards, because I have the machine and the family hasn't got a machine, and they come along and they've got an issue, I imprint the card, give it to them, and they take it around. So I don't know why I would put programs on the cards and lie them one beside each other. So it doesn't make sense to me, but I would say use one card for one person and make sure that the person carries them and nothing else. So should be fine. Can you use the AHA Halo with a pacemaker? Yes, you can. There's no currents going around, nothing whatsoever. Have any of the peptides been used in conjunction with hypnosis to take the client deeper? Oh, I could imagine that hypnotherapists would do this and would use one of the brainwave programs like Delta. I'm not aware of it. I don't do hypnotherapy, and I haven't heard of anyone who might have done it. But it's a good question for the guys on the forum. So ask a question there. You have got a much wider audience, and somebody could send you some experiences. I use the AHA Halo daily. If I run an emotional program, for instance, how long would it run for? Also, is it productive to be running the AHA Halo 24/7 on different programs? Well, the thing is, with the peptide programs especially, you want to give it a certain, it has to come in a certain order, these impulses. So when you use peptide programs, you're changing the messages that are transferred within the body because peptides are messenger molecules. They are also emotion molecules, or the molecules of emotion, as Kenneth Perth actually had described it. So if you give stimuli all the time, but you don't give the body time to actually do something with this information. And that has to be done when the body is in parasympathetic mode, when it is in rest and digest mode. That's usually at nighttime, of course. If there are still new messages coming in, messages coming in, and messages coming in, the body doesn't have a chance to do the changes that you want to have. So apart from me not liking to have even an AHA Halo running at nighttime, you also need to think of when will the repair happen if you run it for 24/7? So my answer is it's not productive to do that. Um, and the emotional program, for how long would I run for it? Well, if I choose an emotional program, then I notice that there's something going on with me, and then I check on a regular basis, an hour later, 2 hours later, oh yeah, I'm feeling better. So I turn it off. There's no need to run it 24/7. When using the parasite peptide, is it necessary to use binders such as zeolite or clay, um, or other things? Well, it's always a good idea to do that. If you are detoxing and killing some parasites, it's a good idea to have something like clean up Tillolite running, and taking in, or um, glutathione that helps you get rid of toxins that are coming from the parasites. It's always a good thing to do. What would you suggest for cervical disc degeneration? Well, I would go for the cartilage program and the joint program because that's what it is. The main problem might though be that you are feeling pain. So back pain is a good thing to use, or back discomfort. Um, and if the nerves are damaged or tingly all the time, it might be a good idea to run the nerve program as well. With the harmony cards, do you place them under or on top of the AHA halo? They go underneath like that. This is the card, this is the device. Is it better to start with pathways or with cleansing? In my opinion, it's always better to start with cleansing. Does the card need to be against the skin or just in one's pocket? In the pocket is fine with a card. Have you ever considered using the cards with a Spooky 2 scaler? So program the card, let's say young body, and put it on and receive in your scalar device. No, I haven't considered this because I've got the machines. I hardly use these cards. I sometimes use them on the family, as I mentioned, if they want to. The thing is, there are excellent webinars on the Spooky 2 Academy side that tackle exactly the issue of imprinting with Spooky 2 devices. In my opinion, I would say yes, it is possible and works with these cards as well, but check on them. Um, there's a lady called Deborah from Australia. She does a lot of imprinting, and there's an American guy. What's his name? I can see his face, can't recall the name. They do a lot with imprinting, and they show exactly how to do this and what is possible and what is not possible. So I would like to refer you to that. Okay, so it looks like we are through with the questions. Oh, there's another one. Yes, once you have done your cleansing program, then you can run um, the um, the meridian programs. Not a problem. That's absolutely fine. But it's good to have an introduction to frequency therapies, be it the spooky, be it the AHA halo, um, with cleansing. Just make sure the rubbish is out there and doesn't disrupt whatever you want to do afterwards. Good. So what have we got here? Good. Well, that seems to be it. If there are no more questions. Um, I will close this webinar. If you've got any more technical questions, please forward them to AHA Halo and the friendly staff over there. And if you have got any medical concerns or would like to have some help with setting up sort of a type of treatment plan, roughly or even very precisely, we can do this too. Then contact me on my email or WhatsApp. So I wish you all the best. Thank you for your attending this webinar. And we hope to see you soon again somewhere else or again on our Halo. Hey, all the best. See you then. Bye.